So today we will be discussing about digestive system. The first part is anatomy of the digestive system. So human digestive system consisting of the digestive tract, or what in medical language called gastrointestinal tract. So it's a long channel that enters the body from mouth to anus. This channel digests, break down and absorb food through its layer into the blood. Anatomy of the digestive system consists of digestive organ, which are divided into two main groups, namely organ in the digestive tract and complement digestive organ. Organ in the digestive tract include mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and end up in the anus. Meanwhile, complementary digestive organ, or the accessories, include tongue, teeth, gallbladder, salivary glands, liver, and pancreas. Then we will be talking about the organ in the digestive tract. So the first organ is mouth. So mouth is the gate of the digestive tract, and when we chew, the process of actually digesting food is already begun. In fact, before food enters the mouth, our digestive system is getting ready with saliva to moisten the mouth. When entering the mouth, the movement of chewing change food into smaller particles, so the enzyme in saliva can more easily process them. After the food is destroyed, the tongue will push food to the next destination, which is throat. Throat, which in medical language called pharynx, is the path that food used to get to the esophagus. When food that has been broken down into the throat, there are two possibilities that can occur. First, food can passes the right path, namely to the esophagus and then to the stomach. And the second is food enters the wrong path, basically to the airway. The second possibilities is what make us choke. To prevent food from going to the wrong way, there is an epiglottis in the throat. Epiglottis is part of digestive organ that is shaped like a leaf. Its function is almost the same as a door, which can open and close as needed. Esophagus. Esophagus consists of tube-shaped muscles that stretch from pharynx to the stomach. Through a squishing mechanism called peristaltis, the esophagus will deliver food to the stomach. Beside storing food, the stomach also plays a role in mixing and destroying food into a form that is more easily absorbed. This function is carried out by enzyme and acid produced by the stomach. When food goes to the next organ after the stomach, its consistency resembles pasta or liquid. Small intestine. Small intestine is divided into three parts, namely duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. The organ will continue to process the food using enzyme produced by pancreas and liver. The duodenum is tasked with continuing to break down food and process it. Meanwhile, jejunum and ileum play a role so that the nutrients present in food can be absorbed by the body. There's also peristaltis in the small intestine, which will move food and mix it with substance released by other human digestive organs. And then large intestine. Here, the food that enters is left over from digestion and will be transferred to the rectum, then the anus. Before that, the water contained in the remnants will be removed, so the consistency is denser. The rest of the food will continue to be in the large intestine until there is a movement that triggers expenditure from the rectum. So generally, the remaining food takes about 36 hours to pass through the large intestine. Rectum. Rectum is a room that connects the large intestine and anus. Its function is to receive leftover food that has been turned into feces and store it. When a stool enters the rectum, sensors in the area will send message to our brain to determine whether the stool needs to be removed or not. The last organ is anus. So anus is the door of human digestive system, the last door of human digestive system. This organ consists of muscles that are used to keep and hold the stool out of the rectum if it's not time. In addition, this muscle will also prevent us from spontaneous bowel movement during sleep. Then we have three additional digestive organs. The first one is liver. So liver play a role in producing a substance called bile, which is useful for digesting fat and getting rid of the excess. The nutrients found in food will also be filtered by the liver. In addition, the liver also filters toxics and other chemicals that are harmful for the body. Second one is pancreas. Pancreas produce enzyme which will then be released in duodenum to help the digestion of fat, protein, and carbohydrates chemically. Then gallbladder. Bile is stored and removed from the gallbladder when fatty foods enter duodenum. The gallbladder will contract and expel the bile. Moving on to the second part, human tissue. Human tissue is a collection of cells that builds the human body. Every part of the body has their respective function. Therefore, there are many types of tissue that make up human body. Through a microscope, you'll see that human tissue is a neatly organized group of cells based on their structure and function. And based on their grouping of this tissue, is formed and then builds organ and other body parts. Human body consists of four different types of tissue. The four are muscle tissue, connective tissue, epithelial tissue, and nerve tissue. Tissue contained in the digestive system. The first one is smooth muscle tissue that are considered as the weakest muscle tissue compared to other types. This muscle tissue function to make these internal organ contract so that they can deliver other intakes food that enters the body to certain organs. Smooth muscle tissue is found in internal organs such as stomach, intestine, blood vessel. Smooth muscle tissue works subconsciously or automatically, so we don't need to deliberate instruct to the muscle to carry food consumed from the intestine to the stomach. The process is already happened by itself. Stratified squamous epithelium. So it's a layered flat epithelial tissue that has more than one layer of flat cells. The function of this epithelial tissue is as a protector from damage. Layered flat epithelial tissue without keratin can be found in the rectum, bladder tract, and inside the mouth, esophagus, and vagina. The cylindrical epithelial tissue layered, or the other name is simple columnar epithelium. It has a cylindrical cell layer. The function of this epithelial tissue is to assist the process of absorption of nutrients and the production of chemical compound with cilia and phlegm. Cylindrical epithelial tissue layer can be found in the glands of the body, uterus, digestive organ, and some areas in the lungs organ. Stratified cuboidal epithelium. It's a layered cube epithelial tissue that has more than one layer of cell that are cube shaped. The function of this epithelial tissue is to protect glands in the body, and layered cube epithelial tissue is found in sweat glands, salivary gland, and breast gland. Loose connective tissue has more cell constituent component than fibers. Loose connective tissue function is to wrap the body organs, like blood vessels and nerve, which is found in the mesentery and membranes covering the organ in the stomach. The enteric nervous system, or ENS, it's a assemble embed in the lining of the digestive system, can operate independently of the brain and spinal cord. The second brain of enteric and nervous system is the reason we got butterfly in our stomach or need to use toilet more often when we get nervous or under stress. ENS is able to perform autonomous function such as reflex coordination. Then next, my friends will be talking about the digestive mechanism.
So now we'll be discussing about the mechanisms that occur inside the digestive system. And well, there are six activities that can occur in the system, which are ingestion, propulsion, mechanical digestion, chemical digestion, absorption, and defecation. We'll be going through each one of them each activity one by one, really. So first up, we have ingestion, which is the first activity that occurs. Ingestion is basically entrance of the food to your digestive system. So imagine, and it occurs in your mouth, by the way. So imagine your mouth being like a door, which is basically the entrance towards the digestive system for your food. And inside the while ingesting, your teeth and tongue crush down the food into small pieces and changing its shape, and the saliva pretty much breaks the carbohydrate and lipids due to the enzyme called enzyme amylase. And then the food, and then later the food is swallowed through the esophagus, and the saliva is will help the process because it makes it easier for it to go through the esophagus. Next up is propulsion, which occurs in the esophagus, which is basically making the food go through the esophagus smooth, because of the muscles around the esophagus. This is basically called peristalsis, and it's basically like alternating ways of relaxation and contraction of the muscles. The contraction of the muscles basically slides and push this food down the esophagus. Later on, we have mechanical digestion, which is just changing the physical form of the food. Well, it doesn't change the the chemical nature whatsoever. So the mouth is basically where this part occurs, really. One of them, which is basically because of the chewing, it changes the food, really. Later, we have the stomach, which has this thing where it does mechanical churning, and it breaks the food down even more. And then finally, we have the small intestine, which has this process called segmentation, which is basically pushing the food back and forwards, essentially just mixing them up or breaking them. Next up is chemical digestion, and that pretty much changes the chemical nature. And then, well, the food molecules get broken down into like small, into building blocks, which are kind of just monomers, like amino acids. This activity can be found in the small intestine. Next is absorption, and essentially is where the nutrients get absorbed into the bloodstream. This activity can also be found in the small intestine. Most of the nutrients are absorbed from the lumen, and well, where the lipids are being sent to the lacteals. Finally, the last activity is called defecation, and it's pretty much a process where you excrete feces from your anus or rectum, really, and it's basically just getting rid of digestive waste inside your body. I'm not going to show you an actual feces, that's just gross, so here's just a toilet.
Moving on to the next part, balanced and healthy diet macromolecules. So there are 3 nutrients, such as carbohydrate, protein, and fat contain calories that your body uses for energy. So the first one, carbohydrate. Carbohydrate contain the most glucose and provided the fastest form of energy. Your body convert carbohydrate into glucose in addition to energizing your body, which it uses immediately. Your body can store carbohydrate into your liver. Your liver stores extra carbohydrate as glycogen and release them later when you need it. However, there is a limit to the amount of glycogen that your liver can store. Once your liver has reached that limit, your body converts extra carbohydrate into fat. This increases the risk of various diseases, such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. About 50 to 60% of your total daily calories must come from carbohydrate. There are two types of carbohydrate, the healthy one and unhealthy one. The healthy carbohydrate called complex carbohydrate. It has a longer sugar chain, so it takes a longer time to digest and absorb. This type of carbohydrate increase blood sugar slowly and lasts longer. This help keep you from feeling hungry for a longer time and help keep blood sugar levels near normal. Unhealthy carbohydrate, also known as simple carbohydrate. The simple carbohydrate only contains basic sugar that are easily digested and absorbed by the body. This type of carbohydrate increases blood sugar level very quickly but doesn't last long. That is why these carbohydrates work well to improve low blood sugar but do not satisfy hunger and healthy carbohydrates. Protein. Your body needs protein for growth, maintenance, and energy. Protein can also be stored and is mostly used by your muscles. Your body converts protein to glucose. Protein takes 3 to 4 hours to affect blood sugar level when it really has an effect. Food that are mostly protein won't cause much increase in blood sugar. Protein also has 4 calories per gram in healthy diet, and about 12 to 20% of your total daily calories must come from protein. Protein consists of a number of amino acids needed for the body to function properly. Amino acid can be grouped into two main types, namely essential amino acid and non-essential amino acid. Referred to as non-essential amino acid because they can made by the body. In contrast, essential amino acid are the amino acids that are not produced by the body and must be obtained from food. There is also groups of amino acid called conditional amino acid, which are type of amino acid that are needed at certain times, such as when you were sick or under stress. Protein from animal source is called complete protein because it contains 9 essential amino acids, while vegetable protein is considered as incomplete because it doesn't have one or more essential amino acid. The next one, fat or lipid. Not all fat are created equal. Food that contains good fat must be consumed regularly because good fats are needed by the body to supply energy, help absorption of vitamin A, D, E, and K, and even to maintain heart health. There are two types of fat, more dangerous fat and unsaturated fat. More dangerous fat, called included saturated fat and trans fat, both of which are usually solid at room temperature. Saturated fat are found in food of animal origin, such as meat, dairy product, and hardened fats such as coconut and palm kernel oil or hydrogenated oil also contain saturated fat. This can damage your heart and arteries. Trans fat are found in most processed food and many fried fast food, such as French fries. They make food stay fresh longer. Then the unsaturated fat, or the healthier one, was usually liquid at room temperature, such as olive oil and fish oil. These unsaturated fat are called good fat. Good fats themselves can be subdivided into monosaturated fat and polyunsaturated fat. The most common type of good fat are omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acid, but both of which are polyunsaturated fat. You are advised to consume a variety of food that contain good fat routinely because these two fatty acids are needed by the body but cannot be produced alone in the body. So it needs to be taken from food. That's why omega-3 and omega-6 also called essential fatty acid.
And now we'll be discussing about the illnesses that can occur in the digestive system. Uh, we'll be discussing about three of them, those being diarrhea, gastritis, and constipation. like last time, I'll be discussing each one of them one at a time. First off, we have diarrhea, which is essentially where the victim go to the toilet and defecate, really. And usually the feces is in a liquid. Now, the cause of the illness can come from multiple reasons. An example is uh, when you digest food that pretty much upsets the digestive system, or pretty much alcohol abuse. A treatment for diarrhea is for you to drink clear liquids like water or juice. Do not drink caffeine and alcohol. You should also eat low fiber foods as well. For example, like rice. Next up is gastritis. Gastritis is basically inflammation in the stomach. It can be acute or chronic. Gastritis can be caused by bacterial or viral infections. The victim will gain abdominal pain, indigestion, and loss of appetite, and more. Those are the symptoms. Treatment for gastritis can vary, however, and the prime examples are antacids and antibiotics. Finally, we have constipation, which is basically where the victim suffers from tough bowel movements, which makes them unable to defecate easily. And they'll stress out the feces too hard, really. A good way to treat constipation is to exercise more frequently, eat food that's rich in fiber, for example, like fruits and bread, and drink more water. Laxatives can also help the movement of the feces.
That's
For
all for
example,
our presentation. Thank you for listening.